Welcome back to the Edge podcast. We have a very special guest today. We actually went to high school together and played basketball at the same time at high school. I was sitting on the bench while she was killing it on the court. But our guest today is a rising junior at Clemson University, where she plays on the women's basketball team. She's also studying health science, and so just really excited to have her on and talk about her journey. Thank you for taking the time, Maddie.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
But love to start at the beginning. When when was your earliest memories playing basketball, and I guess what just drew you to the sport?
It's actually a funny story when I talk about it because I actually did not like basketball at all. I did not want to play, and I cried on the way to my first basketball game. But my parents made me do it, my sister made me do it, and after the first game, I fell in love. It just kind of came natural to me, and I just really enjoyed playing. So probably starting like middle school, late middle school, and high school, I started getting really serious about it, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do in college, and I wanted to get a scholarship. So I just worked really hard after that, studied the game as much as I could, practiced as much as I could, knowing that this is what I wanted, and eventually I ended up getting a scholarship and playing at the college level, which was just a dream come true.
That's awesome. And I know you were number 30 in high school, and you also were number 30 in college. So wondering, like, who are your biggest, I guess, basketball influences growing up, and kind of now?
Yeah, well, I do win number 30 for Steph Curry. So he was a big influence on me, just watching his game, how he creates for himself, but also his teammates. And he's also a great person off the court. I think that was just big influence for me. And then on the women's side, point guard Kelsey Plum, she played at Washington. I studied her game so much growing up, and I love her game. And I still watch her at the WNBA level. And she was another really big influence on my game. And both of them I just kind of idolize how they play.
I guess at what moment in high school did you kind of realize, like, or I guess even before that, the scholarship was like a real possibility? Um, like, was it at like an AU tournament or like a Centennial game? When was that moment for you, or just like in just like training, and you realize like, wow, I have like something special here?
I think when I first started, I knew I kind of had a knack for it, and so that's why I was really drawn to it. But like freshman year of high school, I remember I think it was one of my AU coaches or like a high school coach, but they kind of told me like, hey, like I don't know how this is going to turn out. Kind of don't get your hopes up a little bit. Like I don't know if this is
Yeah.
for you. And I think that was like the big turning point. Like okay, I'll show you. Like I want this, and I'm going to work for it. And so I think I just worked really hard. I got like really good skills coaches and really good AU coaches and a great high school coach that just kind of surrounded me and shaped me to be the basketball player I became. And I just wanted it really bad. And so that's kind of what drove me. It wasn't really anyone saying you can do it. It was kind of someone saying you can't do it. And then I was like, okay, we'll see about that.
So in those moments of those coaches, like, were you was there ever a moment where of self-doubt, like, or was your support system so strong, or were you just like that confident in your abilities where you just kept pushing forward? Ultimately, just trying to ask, like, who are your biggest like supporters through this journey?
Mm,
Because I know your high school coach, Coach Blaylock, super animated, super
mm,
passionate. So, um, like, loved the way, like,
very
the
much.
energy he
Yeah.
coached y'all. But would just love to.
Yeah. He was definitely a big supporter of mine. He would always remind me of how good I was and like how much he believed in me because I do have that self doubt. It wasn't all just confidence the whole way through. I still struggle with that. Um, him, my parents, of course, your parents always think that you're like the best player out there. So their support helped me a lot. One of my skills coaches, her name was Coach Lee. I was with her sixth grade until like now, and she would always remind me how good I was and how capable I was to be at this level. And so just those people around me, my AU coaches, and then now that I'm surrounded by my college coaches, everyone is my biggest supporter. They still push me and like drive me to become better, but they're definitely the ones that keep my confidence up and keep me going.
When you were making that decision, um, why Clemson? And yeah, I guess it's a decent move, decent jump from all the way from Dallas, Texas.
Right. Um, there was a lot to consider. I do. hold my academics to a really high standard. So I wanted a school that had good academics, and I know they had that. My recruiting process was kind of during COVID, so I couldn't come do visits and like talk with people. So it was really just like over the phone conversations and who I felt more drawn to. And I think the more I talked to Coach Butler, which is my head coach, and then all my assistant coaches, they were just like so welcoming. It just felt like home every time I talked to them. And I just got a really good feeling about this place. And so kind of made the leap. And I'm really glad I did because I wouldn't regret it for a second. And I'm really grateful for my journey and everything. And it is kind of nice to be a little far away from home. We were in our little Frisco bubble for too long.
Can't agree more. I mean, being in Austin is kind of like sometimes feels like a high school 2.0. Won't
Yeah.
lie.
No,
So,
I bet. That's probably why you're
um,
headed to New York.
yeah, no, I had to leave. I have to leave. So thinking about like college now, what's I guess like first practice, first like scrimmage, first game, what stood out as being like this is so much more different in the game I already know, like maybe it was
Mhm,
like a physicality or what was that biggest like oh wow moment for you?
mhm. I think the biggest jump was like you go from being the best player on every team that you were in to not. That was like a huge difference for me. It's just like having to learn from older players and like taking my time in my role and not getting upset or frustrated when things don't go my way initially. I think it was more the mental aspect for me that was just really challenging. Like just really taking it all in and understanding my role and understanding what's needed for me, and just how to work and be the best that I could be. And then, of course, everyone's huge and super strong. So that's hard.
Fair, fair, yeah. And
Yeah.
I guess what part of or would you say your mental's been like or we'll start with that like how has your mental improved? Like, do you still, what kind of like exercise or ways you kind of just train your mental? And then I guess like on the physical side and part of your game, what do you think has been the biggest jump?
hmm I think of the mental side, I've gone through like a lot of training, like leadership training here, about just like how to be a good teammate, how to be a good leader. I thought I had all the answers coming in college, and I did not. I was very much humbled. And so, just like learning, like I said, learning from people above me, learning from my support system, talking with my coaches constantly, taking time for myself to reflect. Those have all been like coping mechanisms for me to kind of absorb as much as I could. And then on the physical side, I just push myself a lot. I get in the gym a lot. I work out a lot. I always want to be the best that I can possibly be. And so I know that there's areas that I lack that probably other people have an upper hand in. And so me trying to like cut that difference between that gap or whatever, that's kind of my area of growth that I've been working on.
Nice. And what would you say now is like your signature move? Like, what do you feel like super confident now? It's like super second nature. The reason I asked this is because it was, I think it was a game of the fall, and you did your what I considered to be your signature, like the hip swivel, like the hip crank, and you did it like 5 times in a row, and every time you scored. Next day in
Mm-hmm.
practice, Coach Kaufman's like, "Okay, we're all doing we're all doing hip cranks," and we did that for like 15 minutes.
Oh gosh, I love that. I think that's probably been my signature move since high school, and if it keeps working, I'm gonna keep using it. So
Yeah,
either like I do my drop cross or I do my hip swivel, or sometimes throwing a spin move whenever I get down low. But I've really expanded my outside game recently here in college, so just like being able to knock down threes or do counter moves off their 3 point line whenever the paint is kind of crowded. So
gotcha. And
yeah,
what's like the
I
preparation
appreciate Coach Kaufman.
Yeah. What's the preparation like in like leading up to games? Like, what does the scouting report look like? What do film sessions look like? Um, and I guess just like game plans in general.
Yeah, so it's kind of once we get in a season, it gets pretty robotic a little bit. I don't want to say, but there definitely is a schedule. Like we get our scouting report like 2 or 3 days before a game. It just depends how much time we have. We watch each players individually. We talk about their like go-to moves, their strengths and their weaknesses, and then we go into practice right afterwards. And we have like our scout team. They like resemble those players, And then we kind of like break down their sets, be able to guard that, be able to guard their players, kind of talk about what we need to do, what their as a whole, what their team's strengths and weaknesses are, and how we can counter that. And then we usually have like 2 or 3 days of prep that just kind of like reiterates all of that. And then going into game day, we always talk about us. We never like focus on the other team, the scouting report, anything like that, because game days is all about ourself and our improvement. And so that's kind of like the layout of like most games and how we kind of prepare for competition.
Gotcha. Nice. What school in
Mm-hmm.
the ACC has the best home crowd, or just the environment you love to play in? You know, every time you walk in there, it's going to be a electric environment.
Oh gosh. Um, I think, ooh, I think we always have really good competition with Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, whether it's here or there. For some reason, we just like butt heads a lot. But I think playing at UNC, knowing that like that's where Michael Jordan played and a lot of greats played there, that was a really cool experience. And their fans were pretty aggressive, if I do say so. And then we play South Carolina each year because they're our rivals, and that gets crazy.
Got it. Yeah. And what school in the ACC do you all have to travel the furthest to?
um, I think Pittsburgh, which is
Got it.
usually only like a 2 hour flight or something, so it's not too bad.
Got it. Yeah. In terms of, I guess, balancing everything, I'm sure that's been a big adjustment process from high school. But how do you, I guess, like one maintain like obviously stay on top of school and everything like that, but like find ways to create separation from like the sport.
Yeah, it's really hard because we're there, like even during the summer. Like I feel like I was in the gym like 4 hours a day, every single day, and it only gets worse. Not worse, better. Whenever school starts, because we're just there more. Um, and then kind of your friends that you surround yourself with are your teammates, so you see them a lot. So I think I've really tried this year, like finding things that I'm interested outside of sports, like being more in touch with like my religion and finding more time for my family, hanging out with friends outside of basketball. So being able to balance that social aspect, but then while also prioritizing school and basketball as my top priorities, really, it's hard, but I've found ways to balance it, and I enjoy school and I enjoy basketball and I enjoy all the social aspects. So it's been good.
Gotcha. Yeah. What's been your most
Mm-hmm.
memorable bucket thus far in your college career?
Memorable bucket. Um, oh, that's a good one. Um, I think we were kind of trailing behind. I can't remember which team, but I had an and 1 3 to tie it up. And I made it, and then I made the free throw, and everyone kind of went crazy, and that was a fun moment for me. But I like my charges better. Those are like more memorable for me because I know my team goes crazy when I take a charge. So those have been fun.
That's a very Centennial answer right there. Taking
I know,
charges.
right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. That really has shaped me.
Yeah. What's the or what celebration, if any, did you do after that? I was expecting you need to do the staff 1, 2, 3, 4, count them out.
That's a good one. Sometimes I do like a little blow and then I pocket my threes. I don't know. I try to stay even kill, but if I get real fired up, I'll kind of go crazy. Always a good chest bump and stuff like that.
Got it. Yeah. And what's like the team dynamic like? Because I guess something I just like naturally have been learning more so, but just like seeing and wondering about is ultimately you're there to like compete for a scholarship. Like if obviously if you end up not being good enough long enough, and there's a better player that comes in, they kind of obviously have limited spots, and also people are competing for playing time, right? So what's the balance of obviously like creating the camaraderie, the friendships, and that's kind of like one of the main reasons any of us play sports, right? Is to have that like solid team, but also balancing with like there's still some sort of like competition, right? Level of competition.
It's been a challenge for me doing that because the people you're closest with are the people that you also compete with every single day. And so that's an area of growth for me. But we've been talking about it so much as a team that like the better that I do, the better my teammate does, and the better that she does, the better someone else does. And so if we're all pushing each other to be better, we're all going to be better collectively. And so I always try to have like my team's best interest at heart. So if I'm competing as hard as I can against this girl, and if she still plays, like I'm the reason that she like plays well or whatever is because I helped her in that way, or it's same thing vice versa for me. And so just doing what's best for the team and also competing each day. It's hard, but I've that's been an area of growth for me, and I think I'm getting better at it as I go.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thinking about like the team motto, or I guess like y'all's like, you know, I guess it is motto or like whatever y'all live by. I remember we had like the big board in our locker room of, kind of, hustle, like our core principles. What is your team's motto now? I kind of picking up on a lot of, focus on us, like betterment of everyone. What are some of those like core principles now?
One of our first ones is TLC, trust, loyalty, commitment. So having that trust, that loyalty, commitment within the team, that's a big one that we reiterate. We have another one, HIBLAW, which stands for handle your business like a woman. Um, so that's kind of more, it is on the basketball court, but also off the basketball court, just like handling your business, doing what's needed for you on the court, off the court, as a woman, as we're growing and learning. And then our last one that I kind of like hold on to a lot is what does love require of you? And so the big thing is like as a teammate, as a sister, as like a family, what does love require of me to do for you? And so if that's like sacrificing my time to help you, then that's what it is. If it's calling you out on something that you should be accountable for, like it's kind of just like a question that we try to ask ourselves each day whenever we go into workouts and practices or interactions. It's just like, what does love require of me to do to help you? So I'd say those are a big three, and I try to live by all of them.
You've seen, like, you follow all like the Ball's life over time. You see them
Mm-hmm.
like when the WNBA posts, or is there anything like women's basketball related? All the comments are kind of, the same,
Mm-hmm.
and often very demeaning. So what has been for you like a way you've been trying to change that, like either at Clemson or just like the way you just on social or whatever else?
Mm-hmm. I think it affects me a lot. Like I get really frustrated by stuff like that because some people just don't understand what they say and like what effect that has. But I am really grateful for like where the women's sports is going right now. I think it's getting a lot more appreciation than it has in the past, and I hope it continues to. At Clemson specifically, I was a part of a women empowerment group, so it was like 1 to 2 players from each sports team that kind of literally the premise of it was empowering women and empowering women in sports and making changes throughout our campus. So we've made more changes like with promotion and with sales and with people who show up to women's games through this group, and I'm really proud of that. But all in all, just kind of not feeding into the hey, people are going to do and say what they want to do, and so I can't control that, but just continuing to put positive energy out there and kind of hoping for the best. And like I said, it's moving in the right direction, so just keep supporting that direction.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. And now thinking ahead to, or I guess we'd love to take a quick stop on like NIL and kind of how that is at Clemson. I'm sure you have, teammates or like, student athletes and on other teams that are now like content creators, right? Like influencers alongside of them playing the sport, and they're making a good amount of money from it. So what is kind of like the infrastructure there like, and what has that process and adjustment been like for you?
It's been weird a little bit because you never really expected to make money off of this because you come into college thinking that that's not allowed, and now it is. But I think Clemson has put so much support into it. Like we're building like a whole building for NIL purposes for all of our like athletes and stuff like that, just to help us promote our brand. We've had so many meetings and conversations about what your brand looks like and what you want to represent yourself and everything like that. And we have people that help us like reach out about stuff and everything like that. And so I think me personally, I haven't been like fully immersed in it, but I've had my opportunities here and there about like being involved with companies that I feel good about and who I want to connect myself with. And I know my teammates have done the same. And we've just been fortunate with the support that we've had with it and like the money that everyone's gotten from it. So it's really cool to see, but it is kind of a lot. It just adds another thing to the basket of many things that we have to deal with.
For sure. Yeah. What's the, I guess, any company you can partner with, what would that company be?
Ooh, um, probably Crocs. If I could get around a Croc NIL deal, I would. um,
Yeah.
or maybe like I don't know, probably Crocs.
Crocs.
Yeah,
Got it.
salad.
Thinking about future plans, you're studying health science. Um, where are you, or what are you trying to do after, or kind of within health science?
I'm not quite sure what I want to do with my future, but I know that I enjoy helping people. I enjoy science, and I've really enjoyed my years doing health science. So somewhere in that path, I'm thinking to go to PA school. Um, but I'm just going to kind of play it by ear and see where basketball takes me, where life takes me, school, because I still have 2 more years of eligibility, but only 1 more year of undergrad. So I got to figure out what to do with that last year. Don't quite know yet.
Will we see is there potential to see a Coach Ott in the future?
Ooh, maybe. I think I've thought about coaching before, and I don't know if I want to do it like at the highest level, but definitely like if I have kids or like whenever I get old enough and like financially stable, I'm definitely going to invest back in basketball because I just love it and I love helping people and teaching kids, and I think that'd be fun.
Gotcha. And if you weren't playing basketball, what sport do you think, let's say one, you would want to play, and then two, you think you would be like the best at or the next best at?
Okay. I think I'd want. Hmm, I think I'd want to play volleyball. I think that's volleyball is just so much fun, and I think I would enjoy that. But I played soccer a lot growing up, and I was pretty decent at that. So I feel like I probably would have been like second best to soccer, but either of those.
Gotcha. Nice. Okay, to cap off this amazing podcast, we'd love to have you answer three rapid fire questions, starting with if your team
Cool.
or how would your teammates describe you in a sentence?
So I would say that I'm a caring teammate who would do anything for them and really connect the team.
Nice. Second question. I think we know your answer to this one, but who's the greatest Hooper of all time?
That's really hard. I'll probably say Steph Curry right now or Kelsey Plum or Chelsea Gray. Wow, that was a tough one.
Yes. And lastly, what do you think is your edge?
Ooh, um, I think I'm a really great learner. I would say not to like pat myself on the back too much, but I just really absorb a lot and I take as much as I can. And so just having that edge on people where I can pick up things really quickly and apply them really quickly has given me a great edge in sports and in life and in school and everything like that.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for taking time, Maddie. I'm super excited to see, the rest of your follow the rest of your college career. I'll have all of Maddie's socials linked down below, so feel free to give her a follow. Is there anything you'd like to plug or add?
Just appreciate you having me on here and appreciate your support. And I just had so much fun talking with you today. Thank you.
For sure, it was great catching up.